Alright, this is Bart with the Bicycle Rider YouTube channel, and today I'm going to talk about a really neat product that I've been using. This is the Silca Tattico Bluetooth pump. And this is a mini pump, so it's made to, go with you in your pack. It also comes with a little attachment that you can, hook under your water bottle and hook it straight onto your frame, and that's how I've been using it on my gravel bike. But this is one of those products that's really impressed me, and I wasn't too sure that I needed a Bluetooth enabled pump. In a way, I thought that might be a little wanky or something I didn't need, but it's really come to be a very neat and accurate way to check the air pressure and control the air pressure in your tires. And if any of you are doing gravel or multi-surface riding, you realize how important it is to change your tire pressure for different surfaces. And it's different if you're on a gravel road and you have maybe a mile of pavement. It's not worth pulling over and changing your tire pressure for a mile or two. But if you have 10 miles of pavement ahead of you before you can get to the gravel roads, well, it is almost instrumental to go ahead and put a little bit more air in while you're on the paved surface and then let a little air out when you're on the gravel surface. And of course that has to do with traction. But what I'm finding out is I can make my tires last a whole lot longer if I use a little bit more on the pavement, a little bit less on the gravel. So there's two benefits, at least two big benefits to checking your tire pressure often. And when you have a little pump like this, it really makes it easy. And when I talk about easy, I'm talking about everything with this pump is easy. As far as carrying this pump, it's fairly light. I think in the description we can put how much it weighs. It's not a feather light pump, but a lot of that is because how sturdy this thing is made. And I don't know if it's military specs, but when I look and feel this item, it feels very military-like. So this is something that you just almost know is going to last you a long time, or you can count on. If you're way out there on a gravel road and you have a pump that fails and you need a pump, why save a few grams when you can buy a sturdy product like this that is going to stand the test of time. And with my next statement, I'd like to say that I love dogs and I love animals, but there's some bad dogs on the road, and if you have to grab this pump pretty quickly out of your pocket to protect your ankle or protect your calf, this pump, you pop a dog on the nose with this and he's going to back off you. Where if you have a little cheap plastic pump, that dog might just laugh and continue to chase and bite you. So I don't condone being mean to animals, but to save yourself or to save a riding partner, this is like a weapon. I don't think Silca markets this as a weapon, but just an added benefit of how sturdy this pump is. But as far as ease of use, it has a really nice extension tube. And when I say really nice, you can tell that this is a high quality piece of rubber that's going to last for a while. And it has this locking mechanism on here that really holds the pump head to your valve stem very well. And I've used some pumps on the side of the road that didn't have that feature, and it seems like you're pumping and air is leaking out and things just don't really work right. Because a lot of times when you're pumping on the side of the road, you're not just doing even strokes. You're doing this, and you almost need something that's going to lock onto that valve stem. So Silca has put a very, and you can't see it from the picture, but it's a nice aluminum piece. So this is not like a little plastic piece that's going to break. And I have never seen this pump head unlock from a valve in any time it's been used. And this pump has been used a lot, and it seems like people that ask me if they can use my pump, and because they like the way this thing works. But to seal up that, they've got a nice rubber cap to keep it from getting dirty. They protect the pump with an O-ring here, because like I say, on my gravel bike, more of a racy gravel bike, I don't have a big pack, and so this stays on my frame and it gets a lot of mud off of the gravel roads. And I have never had a problem with mud interfering with the way this pump works, and that's because they put a nice rubber seal here to protect that. So that's one of the tips I got to say with this pump. When you put it back on your frame, just make sure to slide that O-ring up and everything stays nice and sealed. Speaking of O-rings, this pump has got a lot of use, and in South Mississippi, where the temperatures are 90 to 100 degrees, you know, I've seen these little pumps fail because the O-rings get so hot from multiple uses. And Silca has come up with an O-ring that's supposed to, you know, be able to handle that type of heat, and maybe not expand as much or not as contract as much. But you know, I've felt this pump get hot before. And I've never seen it fail as far as even doing multiple tires at one time. And like I said, a lot of people ask to use my pump because they're carrying maybe something like this that's a CO2 only, or maybe this is a CO2 and a pump. But these just do not work as good as the stroke and volume that this Silca Tattico pump uses. It's very, very nice. Actually, I mean, I might even stop carrying my floor pump in my action van over here, because this takes up less room and pretty much does everything that my my van floor pump does, and more. So we'll get to the Bluetooth functionality here in just a second, and I think my cameraman's going to put some shots later of how the app works and maybe some of the functions of the app. But basically it works off your phone, and it connects very easy. When you need to get a pressure reading off of this pump, you open up the app on your phone, and all of a sudden you can see very clearly the amount of pressure that your tire has in it, and you can see the pressure increase when you start pumping it up. And I think the app has some extra functionality, but that keeps things very accurate. And you know, the more I cycle, the more years I cycle, the more important I find out just the right amount of tire pressure is. And it's so nice when you don't have a mechanical valve that, you know, with temperature can work different. Different mechanical valves maybe work off of the end of the tube. So sometimes you're catching a reading here. Some of them have it on the pump valve, so you know you're catching the reading here, and they're just not as accurate. Where I found that the Bluetooth signal that they have in here, the sensor, really is a very accurate sensor to the half a pound, I believe. It might even go less than that, but it seems like the PSI, you can dial it in to, if you wanted, instead of 40 pounds, you can put it at 37 and a half. And your bike rides so much different at each pound of pressure. And with a pump like this, you can dial it in exactly every time. I believe there's even an alarm you can set on that app where, you know, it gets up to the amount of pressure and it'll beep and tell you you're at the right amount of pressure. So not having the mechanical gauge has really been nice. One, because you don't have the weight of the mechanical mechanism. You don't have the mechanical mechanism actually on the pump that's getting banged around, getting beat up, that's getting in the rain, that's getting mud. You know, that's a sensor that's sealed inside this pump somewhere that is reading it electronically and very accurately. So having the Bluetooth functionality reduces the weight of having a mechanical gauge. It reduces the you know, the impact that a gauge could take in different conditions. And it's so nice just having it on your phone. And I do ride with my phone, and I think a lot of people do nowadays, because you know, your phone is your safety net. So I mean, you're carrying your phone anyway. You might as well have all this be electronic and weigh about zero compared to having some kind of mechanical gauge. So you know, maybe some people don't ride with a phone, and that's perfectly fine. But if you have a phone, you already have half the product with you anyway. And the other half of the product is just rock solid. We're going to take some close-ups of this later, but the Bluetooth Tattico Silca mini pump is really a very rock solid piece of equipment that I highly suggest. I don't think it's the cheapest pump on the market, but it's definitely not the most expensive either. If I remember, they're about $100, and of course that's just rough numbers, but you know, a $100 piece of equipment that gets used is definitely worth it. And I got to say, everybody loves to use this pump, and you know, that makes me feel better about spending $100 on a little pump if it's getting used. You know, and that makes it valuable. So sometimes you don't mind spending a little bit extra money for the extra quality, and if it's something that's going to be valuable. And I have to say, this is very valuable because of the use that I get out of it, and my friends get out of it. Is, you know, it's cool to see, and you know, I do like tech, but it's kind of cool when you give this to some people, then next thing you know, you've got your phone here and they're like, wow, that gauge is on your phone. You know, some people are impressed and some people think it's stupid, but if you think it through, it's really, you know, a pretty smart idea. So I'm going to keep testing this product, and like I said, I'd like to thank GovVelo. They're an online bicycle company who, you know, only sell products that are tested. So they gave me this pump to test, and I don't think I'm going to give it back because I like it so well. But that's how you know, GovVelo operates. They're not going to sell things that aren't tested. And all the feedback I've given back to the guys of at GovVelo have been positive. I haven't had anything bad to say about this pump. But I'm going to keep using it, and if something happens to fail someday, I'll report back to you. But at the moment, out of heavy use, this pump is definitely doing what it's supposed to do, well above my expectations of what a Bluetooth pump would do. So if you have any questions about it, just hit us up. Both my cameraman and Gary, my cameraman and myself, we use this pump on our bikes, and we let our friends use this pump. So we're pretty, we can answer any questions that you might have about this pump. All right, thank you.